let's talk Manchester United because less than 18 months ago, certain three players looked to be the future of the club. Now, with 5 days to go until the deadline closes, all three of them, Rasmus Højlund, Alejandro Garnacho and Kobbie Mainoo, could be on their way out. Let's start with Kobbie Mainoo and why his face doesn't seem to fit at the moment.
It's slightly bemusing, and Gary Neville can't understand it. He told us in his podcast, didn't he, after the game at the weekend on Sunday, that he didn't understand why Ruben Amorim is not fancying Kobbie Mainoo, because of course he hasn't played a minute on the pitch yet for Manchester United this season. And yet, Rob, you don't have to go back that far to realise that he was probably England's best midfielder, maybe after Declan Rice, at the last Euros. Gareth Southgate discovered him in the latter stages of the tournament, and we thought he was going to be England's mainstay for a while. We assumed he would be Manchester United's mainstay for a while. But Darmish has done a lot of work on this particular story, and I think Manchester United are expecting offers for Kobbie Mainoo. There's growing interest in him from at home and in Europe, and I think that's because Manchester United are giving signals out that we're prepared to do a deal potentially for him. Mainoo is actually supposed to be open to that deal as well, so you suspect that his representatives are being quite busy with a few days in the window yet, although Mainoo hasn't transmitted that to the club. He hasn't actually told the club that he would want to leave. But as an unused substitute in United's opening 2 Premier League games, you can see why a player of his talent and prospect might be attracting some interest. Crucially, United are happy with Mainoo. They're not actively looking to try and sell him at the moment, we're told. But if a decent offer came in, when he's not part of Ruben Amorim's current plans, you can see that a deal potentially could be done there.
It feels like he's a bit of a victim of circumstance at the moment, because Ruben Amorim has come in, he's changed the formation. So suddenly you've got a situation where Ruben Amorim says he is fighting with Bruno Fernandes to get into the team. So Bruno Fernandes is the captain. He's likely to start. That means Kobbie Mainoo is not going to probably get the game time that he wants. But having said that, the other circumstances probably worked against Kobbie Mainoo here. I know Ruben Amorim has said it may be a benefit that Manchester United haven't got European football this season because he can work with his players. But that means there's a reduced amount of games available for players like Kobbie Mainoo to get some first-team action. It's going to be really interesting to see come, 7:15 this evening, when the team sheets are out for Grimsby against Manchester United in the Carabao Cup second round, whether Kobbie Mainoo is in there.
And interestingly as well, just to mention, I mean, the fact that Ruben Amorim is prepared to play Bruno Fernandes out of possession, really, as a number 8, if you like, in the middle of that midfield, where we all know he's a number 10, he plays in a free role, really, but they've brought Matheus Cunha there, who's clearly going to take that role. And Mbeumo as well. It means that it feels like Amorim is crowbarring Bruno Fernandes into the midfield, even though that's not his natural position, because Bruno Fernandes is so important to Manchester United and the club as a whole. And that is costing Kobbie Mainoo right now. And I think he, from the people I'm speaking to, is scratching his head a little bit, saying you'd rather play a player out of position than me. I don't like that.
One of the other things which would be interesting, and I'm assuming you'll be seeing him later this week, is Thomas Tuchel and what he makes of it, which is not one we've got time to get into now, but another subplot with the World Cup around the corner. Let's move on to Rasmus Højlund. Is he going to join the Premier League old boys at Napoli?
I mean, if everyone has their way, both clubs and Højlund himself, yes. They're still talking, Napoli and Manchester United, over a deal to take Rasmus Højlund from Manchester United to Napoli. I was told that 2 other clubs came in with late inquiries, one from the Premier League and one from the Bundesliga. But we think now that Rasmus Højlund has made his mind up to go to Napoli. He is now just waiting, and he's ready to travel to complete that deal once a deal is agreed between Manchester United and Napoli, because that significantly has not been done yet. Napoli wanted to do a loan with an option that would turn into an obligation depending on certain conditions like appearances, goals, Champions League qualification, whereas it's our understanding that Manchester United don't want any conditions involved in this deal. They want a guaranteed obligation inserted into this deal. So that's what they're talking about now. We think the deal is going to be worth around £40 million. That's what Manchester United would want and what they value Højlund at. And that would be incorporated in within a loan fee plus what the obligation price would be. But just looking at this picture, this was a picture that was filling Manchester United fans not so long ago with so much optimism. This is the future. This is what the future looks like at Manchester United. And by the end of this transfer window, there's a big chance that Rasmus Højlund, Kobbie Mainoo and Alejandro Garnacho might well be out of Old Trafford, because Manchester United and Chelsea remain in talks over Garnacho. Gap in valuation on that one, but there's an expectation that he will end up at Stamford Bridge.
Let's stay with Manchester United goalkeepers.
Again, the man in your picture here is Sana Lemons. He is a Royal Antwerp goalkeeper who was pulled out of the squad on the weekend for their game against Mechelen, and that was a club decision. He actually wanted to play, but they didn't want to risk a move to Manchester United because it felt like at that point it was really close. I'm told today that yes, they're still in talks. Yes, they're still discussing the structure of a £17.3 million deal, but there is no agreement as yet for Lamens to go to Manchester United. Now, United, for their part, do not want to get involved in any kind of bidding war, because there are big reports emerging now that Galatasaray might have offered something more than Manchester United. However, it's still our understanding that Lamens himself wants to go to Old Trafford. There is still a chance that come 7 p.m. on Monday, Manchester United's goalkeeping department will still look like what it does today. Onana, Bayindir and Heaton, and no Lamens, but they're still going for him.
And what about Donnarumma?
Well, Donnarumma, I don't think it's going to be Manchester United, because we know that they're going for Lamens at the moment. But as far as Donnarumma is concerned, he hasn't given up hope of a move in the remaining days of this transfer window. As it stands, Manchester City appears to be the most viable option for Gianluigi Donnarumma. That's provided Ederson leaves the Etihad. City, as it stands, their intention is to keep Ederson. There is strong interest from Galatasaray. However, what Manchester City are well aware of is 7 p.m. Monday, September the 1st, the window closes here. 10 days later is when the Turkish window closes. So City are going to try and put themselves in a position where they'll speak to PSG, which they have done. They'll speak to Donnarumma's representatives, which they have done, just to explore the framework of a deal. Because if the Ederson move to Galatasaray starts gathering momentum, but it doesn't get done before the deadline here, City have got a decision to make. Do they press play and go for Donnarumma, knowing that Ederson might leave later on in the window? But then there is every chance, again, like I mentioned with Manchester United, that Ederson will stay put at City. Donnarumma will stay put at PSG, even though he feels in some quarters around his camp that maybe are PSG pricing me out of a move here, because he's only got a year left on his contract. It's clear that they're not going to play him. He's on huge wages. Can they come to an agreement whereby they can make it easier for him to go?
On the subject of goalkeepers, it has been a tough old start for Mads Hermansen at West Ham this season, albeit he's not the only one at West Ham who's found things tough. But might there be another keeper arriving there too?
Well,